Penguin Random House Audio presents Before Dorothy by Hazel Gaynor. Read for you by Saskia Maarleveld. This one's for you, Fran and Joe. With love, X. Now I could tell my story. It was different from the story told about me. From Mother Ireland by Evan Boland. I believe any man must see beauty in mile upon mile of level land, where the wheat, waist high, sways to the slightest breeze and is turning a golden yellow under a flaming July sun. To me, it is breathtaking, the most beautiful scene in all the world. From Farming the Dust Bowl by Lawrence Swobida. Prologue. Extract from Wonderful, A Life on the Prairie by Gale. The first time I saw the prairie was like waking from a dream, suddenly and vibrantly aware of my surroundings in a way I'd never been before. Every color was brighter, every sound clearer, every flowering thing more beautiful and mesmerizing and fragrant. I gazed upon the shimmering mirage of emeralds and golds and couldn't believe such a place existed, or that I would now call that place home. It was heaven, if you believe in such a thing. A fairy tale if you don't. Back in the city, I had marveled at the great showmen and carnival hucksters with their clever tricks and impossible illusions. But those first months on the prairie taught me that nature is the only true magician. Spend a moment watching the hypnotic beauty of a single stalk of golden wheat nodding in the gentle morning breeze, or feel the thrill of the first green shoots pushing up through the dirt. Then tell me there isn't magic here, that you are not bewitched by its beauty, as I was. Some thought we were fools to try and build a new life here. Others thought we were brave. Perhaps we were a little of both. Even with the storm that whirled in my heart, heavy with the knowledge of what I'd left behind, I felt the thrill of arriving somewhere extraordinary. Here was a place I could call home, a life to be fully lived, a story waiting to be written among the furrows of our newly plowed earth. I dug myself in, planted my hopes and dreams and love into the rich Kansas soil, and waited for them to flourish beneath the generous sun and benevolent rains. I had yet to learn that the prairie would not be so easily tamed, that our story here wouldn't be shaped by the color of our dreams, but by the struggles we would endure, and the courage we would find to keep going. Part 1. Chicago, 1932 and 1922 to 1924. A heart is not judged by how much you love, but by how much you are loved by others. The Wizard of Oz. Chapter 1. February, 1932. The city was a colorless palette of gray as Emily Gale arrived at her sister's South Shore row house. Even the familiar brownstone building that had once carried shades of copper and gold in its brickwork was now dulled. She paused at the foot of the steps and drew in a long, anxious breath. The frigid air caught the back of her throat and made her cough. Courage, Em. Courage. Henry's parting words were a distant echo, muffled by the miles she'd traveled from Kansas, and further diminished by the city's towering skyscrapers. She had never felt so out of place, so uncertain, so entirely alone. There was no sweet meadowlark song to cheer her, no comforting rush of rippling ripened wheat, no trace of the purpose and renewal usually carried by the first hopeful day of spring on the prairie. This was a place of sorrow and uncertainty. A wave of grief and guilt consumed her. Courage. She took a moment to compose herself, stiffening her shoulders before she walked up the steps and lifted the heavy iron knocker, letting it fall, just once, against the imposing ebony door. The sound carried the somber tone of a church bell at a funeral mass, appropriate in the circumstances. A moment passed. Silence. Perhaps there'd been a misunderstanding, an alternative arrangement made. Guilt chided her for hoping it might be so. The child was her responsibility now, hers and Henry's. How she wished he were beside her, ready to offer his calm encouragement and steady reassurance. "If I come with you, there'll be nobody here to welcome you home," he'd said. "I'll make cornbread. Sweep the porch." His attempt to lighten the mood was appreciated, but the usual crinkle at his eyes had been absent. What would home mean for them now? A stiff breeze swirled, capturing early blossom in tiny, whirling cyclones at the edge of the steps, and tugging at Emily's cloche as she caught her reflection in the beveled glass panels of the door. She practiced a reassuring smile, befitting of a kindly aunt. But all she could manage was a grimace. Her words also failed her. She'd carefully rehearsed what she would say to the child, repeating the sentences over and over in her mind. But now that she was here, everything felt wrong. There was nothing she could ever say to make this better. She tried to relax, desperately searching in the glass for the confident young woman who'd stood here countless times before, arms full of flowers to bring a smile to her sister's face, or laden down with newly discovered novels to press enthusiastically into her hands. "You'll love this one, Annie. It's all moody moors and destructive passion." She'd believed anything was possible back then. A world at peace after years of war, exciting new opportunities to be grasped by those brave enough to take a chance. But the woman looking back at her now carried no blooms or books or bold ambitions. Only the trace of life's cruel lessons etched into her pinched expression and tangled among the first silver hairs at her temples. They said the prairie aged folk prematurely. She was proof of it. She lifted the knocker again, let it fall again. Despite the spring day, winter still laced the Chicago air. Steely clouds smothered the sun, leaving a cold, flat light as the sharp bite of the wind off Lake Michigan sent a shiver through Emily's bones. The lining of her black morning coat had been sacrificed for a shirt for Henry last fall. The remaining garment no match for the drop in temperature between Kansas and Illinois. A day's journey by railroad, and yet the place Emily had left and the place she had arrived to were so entirely different that she might have traveled for 100 years. She shivered again, the wintry day not the only cause of her rattling bones. She had good reason to be anxious. She knocked twice more in quick succession, the dull thud-thud matching the heave of her heart. Finally, a figure approached on the other side of the glass. Emily swallowed a swell of nerves. She smoothed the creases from her coat sleeves, pushed back her shoulders, and pinched her cheeks to summon some color there. But her fidgeting and fussing stopped abruptly as the door opened, and a woman, a maid, stepped forward. "Mrs. Gale, is it?" The woman's face was milk pale. Her eyes carried the unmistakable ruby hue of grief. "Emily Gale." "Yes," Emily replied. "Annie's sister." She hesitated a moment. "I'm sorry, we haven't met." "And you are?" "Cora McNulty, the housekeeper." The woman dabbed at her eyes with a lace handkerchief. "I'm so sorry for your loss, Mrs. Gale. Yeshte garif a hanam." The burst of Irish language caught Emily by surprise. Her reply to the offered condolences came naturally, but not easily. "Gorev mahagat." She hadn't heard anyone speak as Gaeilge for so many years that to hear it now summoned an overwhelming ache for her sister, for her family, for Ireland, the place she'd first called home. Cora offered a thin smile as she reached for Emily's small traveling case. "Now, would you ever come on inside, Mrs. Gale? That wind would slice you in two, so it would. You must be tired after your journey." Emily was glad to get out of the cold, but a chill lingered on her skin as she stepped into the wood-paneled entrance hall, and time seemed to stand still. It was all so hauntingly familiar, the fleur-de-lis.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?